Hi, everybody. Did everybody enjoy their lunch? Is everybody learning things today? And who's going to be their own advocate? I want to see hands. Who's going to go and advocate for themselves? Thank you. That's what this is all about. So this patient panel is about to give you some stories about their experience, and then we will have a microphone, and we will have people to be able to ask questions. We just want you to realize that you're not alone in this, that there are other people, and maybe something that one of our people, one of the panelists is going to strike a chord with you and say, gee, that's really familiar. I have the same problem. So let me introduce everybody. First, we have Roger, and we have Kathleen, and we have Larry. Now, the whole goal of this whole meeting was to get Kathleen and Roger to agree to be the group leader for South Carolina for Charleston. So anybody that lives in the Charleston area, make sure you go over and talk to them. So let's start with Roger first.
Okay.
And could you just tell us a little bit about your story?
Yep, I'm Roger Jones. I live here in Charleston. Can you hear me? Yeah. Hear me okay? Yeah. I was diagnosed in 2005 with just a routine. I turned 50, had a colonoscopy, and they found that my primary in the small intestine, louder? Found my primary in the small intestine. Did a scan, they had that metastasized to lymph nodes and to liver. So they resected the primary lymph nodes. Felt like it was way too much in the liver to do anything. So my oncologist recommended the wait and see method. So for 4 years, that's what I did, and didn't do anything. And except have scans. My tumors didn't grow. And one morning I was out rowing in the Ashley River here, and I got through and I had this horrendous pain, and it wouldn't go away. And I knew it wasn't muscle; it was inside. So my wife took me to the emergency room, and my the largest tumor was in my dome, which was about 4 centimeters in. And in 3 months, it had grown to almost 8 centimeters. And actually, you saw it on the scan earlier today with Dr. Glamaris. And the oncologist I had in town recommended that, he just said it wasn't anything I could do. So I just started researching and looking at stuff. Went to a number of places here, and then ended up in 2009 going to Germany, to East Germany, and having PRRT. I went there on 4 occasions, and I also got the gallium-68 scan there. That was before any of that was available here in the United States. And they had two different radiations, the yttrium-90 and the lutetium-177 that they gave me on 4 occasions. And it had some minimum effect on my with the tumors. It helped and it slowed down the growth, but then they'd start growing again. But through that, I was able to confirm all my tumors were in the liver. They weren't anywhere else. So then I started looking at liver-targeted treatments, and that's when I got to meet Marcella, and he said he could treat me, and he treated me just exactly the way he described it today. I had Sear Spears, and then I had embolization, 3 of those back to back, and for me, I was lucky and blessed, and it worked. So I've been tumor-free, I guess, for anywhere from the scans show up anyway, for 6 years. So I had bad flushing, I had just bad diarrhea, wheezing, I had all those, and I don't have any of those now. If I could share one little story, I started flushing probably about 10 years before I was diagnosed, and I was sitting at a bar with some friends, took a swig of beer, and just turned beet red. I said, what the heck is that? And I didn't know. I really didn't think about it. So for probably 20 years, every time I would take a sip of wine, just the first sip of beer, just beet red. It was consistent, 100%. So I went to Marcella, and he showed me the scans. He said, Roger, I'm telling you, they're gone. But I didn't believe him. I thought, I don't know why I didn't believe it. I just had them so long, and I just didn't ever think I would not have them. And so my wife and I went on a trip up to Asheville. We was at a hotel at the Grove Park Inn, and I hadn't drank anything for like about 3 years because he told me not to. And so I said, I'm going to test this. So I ordered a double martini, and I took a sip of it, and I didn't flush. At 0. And I said, wow, that's amazing. So then I drank the whole thing and still didn't flush. So then I ordered another double martini. And after I drank that, I didn't care if I flushed or not. But anyway, that made me believe that actually the tumors were gone because that symptom was so consistent with the carcinoid. So anyway, that's my story.
Talking about alcohol, the very first meeting that Robert and I did, which was in 2003 with Dr. Odorizio, and I had carcinoid syndrome really bad. And we went out to dinner afterwards as a thank you, and he ordered a bottle of wine, and it was sitting on the table, and everybody there is having a glass of wine, and he said, "Hey, Marianne, you're not going to have any wine?" I go, "Oh, no, I drink that, I flush right away, and then I'm in the bathroom." So he started laughing, and he said, "By any chance, do you have any sub-Q shots on you, those rescue shots?" I said, "Yeah, why?" He said, "Go in the bathroom, give yourself a rescue shot." I said, "Why?" He said, "Go ahead, go in the bathroom, give yourself a rescue shot, wait 10 minutes, and you can have your glass of wine, and you don't have to worry about it." That was the biggest mistake he ever gave, because now every time I want to drink, I'll give myself a shot, and then I'll go, "It's all Dr. Odorizio's fault." So, but you're not on any kind of treatment or anything like that. Great news. Very good, very good. Kathleen, can you share your story?
Sure. Okay, my name is Kathleen Cartland, and I do live in Charleston. In fact, Roger and I live less than half a mile away from each other. So, but my story is a lot shorter. I just found out it'll be 2 years this May. Up till that time, 2 years ago May, 5 years I had small intestine bowel obstructions. Spread out between 6 months, 8 months, a year, just enough where you get used to eating what you normally eat, and then it happens again, and then you start wondering, what am I eating? What am I doing wrong? I'm in the hospital for 3 days with NG tube in my nose, no food and no visitors because you don't look good, and finally, you get out of the hospital, and then you want to know why do you keep getting these obstructions? And a number of different tests. There's one called Small Bowel Series where you drink white liquid and you do a number of tests, and I had that about every time. Finally, probably 5 years into it, the doctor said they did notice something on the scan, because I was getting regular scans and x-rays, but not an MRI. And so it did show up. He went in for exploratory surgery. I had a resection, small bowel resection, and I remember getting out, and I believe he'd called my husband and said, "Everything's fine, it is cancer, she'll just have to get a shot once every 4 weeks, and everything's fine, the rest of her life, that's all it is." So it's, okay, this is great news. Then, of course, I had a meeting with my new oncologist for the first time, and he said, "You have 10 to 20 years to live." So I'm thinking, there's a little bit of difference here. I need the education. I need to find out what's going on. And that's when I immediately went on Facebook, found Facebook group pages, found Marianne, found out about a meeting that you had probably about a year and a half ago in Charlotte. And ever since then, I am just trying to be the best advocate for myself. But I am still learning, and this has been wonderful so far today, but I don't see how you can ever learn too much about this. Oh, I'm on Lanreotide. I forgot to mention that. I am on Lanreotide. I tried Afinitor for about a month, and I had just terrible reaction. Might have been on too strong of a dose. I started with 10, and so I think they were revisiting that, look at maybe 5 or less than that. But it was just really bad with just some bad side effects, acne, mouth sores, muscle aches. So we're off of that now for time being.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Hi, I'm Larry Pleasant, and I was diagnosed 7 years ago. I went in, I'm kind of the poster boy, I think, for the way this is supposed to work. I went in for routine colonoscopy, and the doctor found a tumor in my ileum, in my colon, and knew exactly what it was the minute he saw it. And within a week, he had me at a cancer center and on sandostatin therapy. Scans showed that it had already metastasized to my liver, but we moved quickly, and so everything fell in place in just the right fashion. I didn't go through all of the horror stories that many people talk about with misdiagnosis and problems over the years. I had the primary tumor removed later, and most recently I had a liver resection this past December, right before Christmas, and the surgeon believes that he got about 95% of the tumors. The good news is that since then I've been completely asymptomatic. Before that, I was having flushing, serious flushing. I've been on Zimmello for, well, ever since it was approved by the FDA, and I still take that, but I've had no diarrhea, no flushing, nothing. I feel as if this whole episode was a bad dream and never happened. Now, I know that the odds are the tumors that are still there are going to progress, and at some point I'll have to deal with it again. But at least for right now, I'm a happy camper. Now, I've got to offer one little thought here that I've been thinking about all morning. One of the first people I talked to after I was diagnosed was Mary Ann. I called her in the blind. Someone gave me her phone number and said, this is a person who can give you some information, because I had never even heard of NETs. She was fantastic. She sent me a package of information. We've talked multiple times since then, but the truth is that we never actually met face to face until about a year ago, 2 years ago now, when Zimmello was approved, and my oncologist asked me if I would go with him to New York to do a filming about Zimmello and about its effects on patients. Now, I did that, but I have to tell you that in my wildest imagination, I never thought, never had in my bucket list anywhere, that my movie debut would be to go talk about diarrhea. So you never know what kind of turns life is going to take. But I'm, as I said, right now, I couldn't be happier. I'm pleased with the outcome of everything. The surgery that I had recently, the liver resection, was great. I was in the hospital 4 days, out, up, around, back at work within 2 weeks, and feeling great. And so it's hard to argue with success.
Did you have that surgery?
Do you really want me to tell you? I had the surgery at Duke.
Okay. Yes, I did want you to tell me.
Okay, I have a question for each of you. If you had one piece of advice for a neuroendocrine patient, what would it be?
One piece of advice to a patient.
What would you say to a patient or caregiver? One piece of advice, what would you do?
Well, it's really what you said. I mean, you got to be your own advocate, and it's a difficult road because, as the physicians have said earlier, it's just so idiosyncratic to every person, and it's so different. And some cancers are very consistent, to how they act and where they are and how you can be treated, and this just isn't. So, and so that makes it, I think, difficult for patients and physicians. So, learning and what we're doing right now, what we're doing here. In 2005, it took me years to learn what I learned this morning. This was fabulous. And so that knowledge just gives you tools and helps you make decisions, because the tumors are different, they act different, they're in different places, they're going to be, some respond. I've got a good friend who PRRT has just been fabulous for him, but it didn't work so good on me. So, so I had to look at other stuff. So really what you're saying, just learning and trying to learn everything you can so that you can make the best decision for yourself. And that's what it boils down to, you making that decision. and being your own advocate and learning. And in this disease, I think it's more important than maybe many others. So.
Kathleen?
I was going to say, and one thing I did leave out, that it has spread to my liver, so that's why I'm real interested in, because that's my next step, is figuring out what to do about that, and a few other little places. But I would say, again, just seek out other doctors. I know when I met Roger not too long ago, he told me obviously about Marcella, and I have met with him. So, and to this day, I'm going to go to Greensboro and meet with somebody about PRRT. So you just can't get enough information. And then also, definitely take somebody with you when you go to the doctor's office. My husband, he's the first one, tells me, calm down. This is what I heard. You sure you heard this, Kathleen? Yes. So again, it's two different sets of ears, and it's a lot easier to understand when somebody else is hearing it from a different standpoint.
Be persistent. Be persistent. Ask lots of questions. I'm fortunate that I'm dealing with a team of people, surgical oncologists, medical oncologists, interventional radiologists, lab people, and they're all involved, and all of them are happy for me to come ask all of the questions that I have. And I confess, I know this will come as a big surprise to people who may know me, but I can be a real pain in the ass.
No.
We'll get along just fine.
And I do ask a lot of questions, and I talk about what I think I want to have done and what I think makes sense based on what I know. And I've been really lucky that all of my doctors have been willing to listen to that and not just to look at the ceiling or ignore it. And we have a dialogue. And I think that's critical if you're going through this stuff, is to develop that kind of a relationship with your medical team.
I'm going to give a few pieces of advice. First of all, just because they're listed on the Carcinoid Cancer Foundation or the Net Research Foundation does not make them a specialist. Not all specialists work for everybody. You need to find a doctor that works for you. You need to find a doctor that you trust, because that's half the battle. If you don't trust your doctor, you're not going to do well, okay? If you don't like what the doctor is saying and he's not listening to you, it's time to find another doctor. You have to remember, these doctors work for you. You do not work for these doctors. If you say, I want these blood tests done, and the doctor says it's not necessary, you feel that you want these blood tests done, you go and find another doctor. Because let me tell you, I went through 7 different doctors during that 7 years, 7 different GI doctors. And each one of them told me something different, and each one didn't believe me. And if I had listened to that first man, I would not be sitting here today. There would be no zebra. There would be no Net Cancer Day. There would be no education, and there'd be no awareness. So my persistency made sure that I am here to help not only myself, and not only my children, my grandchildren, but I'm here to save your lives too. I'm here to make sure that you get the care that you need. So please, if your doctor is not giving you what you need, find another doctor. Explain to them that you need to get what treatment you need to get. Get the test done, get the blood work. There are a lot of big hospitals out there that are world-known cancer centers that do not check any blood markers. They don't think it's necessary. But sometimes those blood markers can actually save your life if they're caught early enough. So, there's some really, really great doctors out there, but just make sure that you're getting what you need. At one point during your journey, you need to go see a specialist. You need to talk to somebody that only treats neuroendocrine cancer. These local oncologists are great. However, they may only see 1 patient or 2 patients in their lifetime. They are very busy. It's not like years ago where you went to see one doctor and he knew everything. You each have specialists. And so, you need to make sure you go and see a specialist once. They can work up a game plan and then go to your local doctor. But that's really, really important, because that's saving your life. okay? Other things, you do not leave a radiologist's office, a doctor's office, without receiving a copy of your reports. This is very important because if you need to go get another opinion or you're having issues and you can't get a hold of your doctor, at least you have a copy of your reports and you have a copy of your CDs. So make sure that you keep a chart. There are forms online on our website. Keep track of your diarrhea. Keep track of this information because I know when I walk into the doctor's office, they say, how are you doing? And the first thing out of my mouth is, fine. And Rob will say, well, weren't you having some issues this week? Yeah, but, and then I'll just totally ignore them. And that happens to each and every one of us because we don't really want to say to the doctor, oh yeah, I'm in the bathroom 20 times. You're like, oh yeah, I want to please the doctor. Keep track. Make sure you let them know because sometimes by not letting them know, you're hurting yourself. And I'll give you an example. I was seeing an oncologist, hematologist because I have lupus and I have ITP. If I had let my doctor once know about my flushing, I might have saved myself 7 years of aggravation. Because what happened was when I called Dr. Gerstein to tell him I got diagnosed, he was like, all right, well, come in, we're going to do all the blood work, we're going to do all your tests and everything else. And I said to him, I ran fevers for my lupus. So I ran fevers every night. And I started running them during the day about 7 years earlier. But I never said anything to him. And he would say, so how are your fevers? I'd be like, okay. But I didn't say to him, I'm no longer running them just at night, I'm running them during the day. So when I got diagnosed, he said to me, tell me what's going on. And as I'm sitting there, I start flushing, my ears started red and everything else. And he said, you're flushing. I said, no, I'm not, I'm running a fever. Marianne, you're flushing. Look in the mirror. I said, oh, when this happens, I was just, for so many years, used to taking 2 Tylenol and leaving it at that I didn't realize for 7 years I was flushing. So if I had just given him that little hint and said, oh, you know, those fevers are now happening during the day and not at night, they might have picked up on my carcinoid syndrome a lot faster. So always tell the doctor these little things because when they might not seem important to you, they are important. And what you may think is related to carcinoid might not actually be related to carcinoid. It might be something else because we are at risk of 50% chance of getting a secondary cancer or getting an autoimmune disease. So you need to let these doctors know. Most importantly, please, 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 stay on top of your scans. Get your scans done. Men, go and get your prostate checked out. Go and get your tests done. Women, go and get your breasts checked out. Go and get your pap smears. Just because you have carcinoid does not mean that you can't get ovarian cancer, breast cancer, testicle cancer, prostate cancer. I don't care what it is. Stay on top of it. Because what happens is a lot of us get so focused on worrying about the carcinoid, we forget about other things. And then the other things catch up and they end up killing you instead of the carcinoid or the neuroendocrine. So please, 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 if anything, make sure you stay on top of that. So that's my speech. But, you know, it's very, very important that you advocate for yourself. If you have any questions, please pick up the phone and call. We are here to help. Where, you know, there's a lot of people in the room that have known me for many, many years, and I don't have a problem calling you back. Okay? If you need 15 minutes of my time, I'll give you 15 minutes of the time. If you need 2 hours of my time, I will give you 2 hours of my time. But please pick up the phone and ask questions. Please contact your doctors. Please do not depend on Facebook to give you your your information about this treatments and stuff like that. You need to check out with medical professionals. These Facebook pages are run by patients. They are not run by medical professionals, and they should not be giving any medical advice. And if you are getting medical advice on these Facebook pages, please let us know because they need to be shut down. Because they should not be giving you. Even if the doctors are on the Facebook pages, they are not by law be able to give you advice on a Facebook page because they cannot cross state lines. So please remember that, okay? So thank you very much to the panel. Is there anybody else that has anything?
Well, I just wanted to remind everybody, please, if you are interested in a local chapter, I'm sitting right over there. Just make sure before the end of today, let me get your contact information.
Does anybody have any questions?
I could be the runner. Anybody want to ask a question?
Have any advice? No, you're not allowed to talk. You're a doctor.
Crossing the state line. That's true. Just a quick point about the Afinitor. You had a side effect to that. Afinitor is also another common drug we use in breast cancer a lot, in a bigger volume than neuroendocrine experience. And what we've realized lately is by giving prophylactic steroid mouthwash for the first 4 to 6 weeks, when we start Afinitor, it brings down your mouth ulcers and stomatitis by 80%, even more. So if somebody's starting off on Afinitor and the medical oncologist has forgotten to prescribe steroid mouthwash, ask for it. It's an easy intervention and can prevent these painful mouth ulcers early on. These mouth ulcers are self-resolving, so after a couple of months, you don't get them.
What, can,
Oh, yeah.
have you ever heard of them putting it in a marshmallow?
That's what my doctor
Marshmallow cream works better.
Oh, really? No.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
something I learned.
Yeah,
I'll
marshmallow
try
cream or marshmallow, you coat it, and it's supposed to help.
Thank you.
With not making you have the mouth sores.
Because it was, what I don't understand is, like you said, do it. You said actually do that, the wash, maybe 4 weeks before you start. No.
During the first couple of weeks,
Okay,
keep it even if you don't have mouth ulcers.
I got you.
And it prevents mouth ulcers from developing. This is an early body's reaction usually first 8 weeks.
Okay.
After you can stop it.
Yeah.
You can use it 2-3 times a day early on.
I tried it, but I don't think maybe I did it as much as I probably should have.
Another thing you should try is, it's a fixed dose, 10 milligrams every day. That's the highest dose. But everybody's body type's different,
Do you
so
think he needs
reducing the dose helps a lot sometimes. So it can be either 10 every other day or 5 milligrams every day.
Yeah.
And then you can work with your physician about it.
Thank you.
Does anybody need a recap on that? We got the gist of it? Okay.
Hey, quick question about, we're talking a lot today about the physical aspects, but can any of you maybe deal with some of the emotions you experienced and how you managed it and what things may have helped you to get through, maybe feeling hopeless, feeling, maybe more hopeful when you hear or connect up with people? Like, I think today is really great because it helps people to feel that connection to one another. Like, oh, that's something I hadn't even known about. I didn't know about this medicine or this treatment, but how maybe the progress, because you've obviously dealt with it the longest, how you managed all that.
You have to give yourself time to grieve. This is a new normal. Some of us do really well and bounce back right away, and then some of us don't. There were times when literally 20, 30, 40 times a day I was in the bathroom. The kids will tell you, I literally would leave myself in the bathroom, and it was like, okay, you're going to take a shower? You have to leave the door unlocked because Mommy has to come in. So, I missed a lot of events because of it, and it's very hard on the children, and it's hard on you. But you have to think of the good things, and that, what you'll find is that this is a family, and the doctors will tell you this too. Not many oncologists and doctors get to have a relationship. My oncologist and I have a relationship for 30 years. That is unheard of, And these doctors, these specialists are amazing. They are truly amazing people, and they really care about you. They're not like other doctors that will push you away. So you got to look at that positive. There are other people in the room that are just as scared as you are, but give yourself time to grieve the loss of your regular life and the start of your new life, and try to, spend as much time with your family. And I say this, enjoy your family as much as you can, and enjoy your friends as much as you can. Try to find a new normal. Try to find something to keep you occupied so you're not thinking about it. Sometimes, take a break from Facebook, because I think that sometimes people get really, really stressed out on Facebook. This is what I hear a lot, is that I'm on Facebook all the time, and I'm reading about all these people and how bad it is, and I thought that it would be helping me be positive, but actually it's bringing them down, because they're saying, oh, well, I'm feeling really good, but, oh, wait, that person died. Oh, wait, this person died. Oh, this one's having a really hard time. So sometimes just take a week or so just to regroup yourself and stuff, and definitely talk to a counselor. Go to support group meetings. There are people there to support you, to, share the same kind of companionship, and, and try to get your loved ones to come with you too. Because a lot of times people forget that the caregivers are going through just as much as the patient, if not more, because they love you and they really care about you and they're watching you suffer and they feel helpless. So it's also important that the caregivers take care of themselves and reach out for help as well.
I call it the midnight self-talk. Like when it's just you and you lay down in the bed, it's midnight, and there's nobody else, and you're thinking, I might die. And that's when it's real, and that's where I was, and I might die, and that didn't make me happy. But that's where my head. I obviously had to deal with that, and I had a good friend here in Charleston who had much more. So he had a colon cancer, very serious. He's no longer living, and he started writing a blog, and he started doing things. And this helped me. I can tell you what helped me. And he started doing things that helped other people with that disease. And in his blog one time he said, I don't consider it my disease anymore. I consider I hit the lottery. And that changed my whole life. And it changed my whole thinking, my whole attitude. And I started then trying to be thankful for what's happened to me, instead of laying in bed think I'm going to die. And then I started saying, I might die, but it won't be today. and that's the way I made it through.
I think that's honestly is truly the reason why I'm still here today, is that this keeps me going. I don't have time to be sick. I have too many events that I have to do. We're traveling too much. And to me, honestly, I did win the lottery. I am so blessed that I have thousands and thousands of people on my side. I have the doctors on my side, and I get to spend time with amazing people every single day. And, you really build that bond. And that's what I'm saying. You need to come to these meetings. You need to spend time together, exchange telephone numbers. These bonds will help you get through every day.
We have any other questions? Oh, one in the back.
With regards to sharing your story and the things that you deal with, do you feel like there's appropriate times and places for it, like you don't want to share with everybody necessarily? For example, I have a team that I work with, and I want them to be aware of my situation in case I'm down for whatever reason. But sometimes people out of concern talk to one another, and you kind of regret ever saying things in the first place. Do you ever deal with that yourself, especially when it comes to a professional environment?
Yeah, that's a touchy issue. What I encourage people to do is, take some of the brochures and explain to them that, it is a slow-growing cancer in many ways, and that it's treated as a chronic disease, as diabetes or something like that, and that, I'm going to have some bad days, just like you do with diabetes, but most of the time I'm having good days. But, I would share the information, about the disease, and so this way they have a better understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, we had someone that we became very friendly with a few years ago, and he wouldn't share it at work, because he felt in that culture that there wouldn't be it wouldn't pan out the right way. So he relied very much on the support group and on his friends and that kind of thing. So, I guess it has to be an individual answer to that question, Anybody else? I'd just like to add a word about that. When I was first diagnosed, it was like getting hit in the head with a cinder block. And I suspect I'm not the only person in this room that felt that way. I was convinced initially that I'd probably be dead in 6 months. What prevented me from feeling that way in the long term was education, learning more about the disease, and talking to people who were expert about it, and becoming convinced that, as Mary Ann said, it can be treated as a chronic ailment rather than something that's necessarily life-threatening. I tend these days not to talk too much about it, I mean, outside of some venue like this, because I don't want it to become a centerpiece of what I do. I teach these days today, and I rarely say anything about this to my students because I don't want them to see me as a product of this problem. And the same with friends. We live in a small town, and it's pretty hard for you to hide anything. But I still don't talk openly about it much because, as I said, I'd rather people see me for me instead of looking at it as, oh, there's the cancer patient. So I think that's something that helps.
I want to say one thing, and then if there's any other things, when we talk advocacy, I don't want to give the impression that it's really adversarial, although at times it does sound that way. We have friends in this room who are physicians. Basically, if you challenge them with a question, you know what you get? An answer. That's what they do. These are the people that you want to go to. You don't want to go to a doctor, and I have spoken to doctors who, we got a patient call the hotline and say, I told my doctor I'm thinking about going to somebody else for another opinion, and he said, well, if you need somebody else, don't come back here. And I called him up, and the nurse answered. I said, you got to put him on, because otherwise I'm going to get my lawyer. I'm lying, I don't have a lawyer. I'm going to get my lawyer to take care of the problem. And he got on. I said, what planet are you from that you would say that to somebody? So that's a case where it's adversarial. But for the most part, it's all about getting the best that you can for yourself and going to the right people for the advice that you need.
One thing I'd like to say as a caregiver, I'm not the patient. If you have questions, I recommend you write them down, because when you get to the doctor's office, you're going to forget one or two or three. The first time Charles went to his first oncologist, I had 7 pages of questions. And she looked at every one and gave me an answer. So I just encourage you to make sure you write your questions down and take them with you when you go to the doctor, where you won't forget the question.
Yeah, sometimes you can write them down and give them to the nurse and say to them, honestly, I know the doctor can't answer this in the 5 minutes that we're here, but could you give this to the doctor and ask him to respond to some of my questions? And most doctors in most cases will.
Can I just add one thing to that? No question is a dumb question. So don't feel like...
Never a dumb question.
It's never a dumb question. Also, financially, nobody's ever discussed about finances. It's a very expensive disease. The shot itself, I was told, is like $7,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes,
Higher
we
than
want
that.
to talk about the care and everything, but if somebody doesn't have medical insurance, what do?
There are resources on our website that you can go. Most of the pharmaceutical companies also have resources as well. They're listed on the website. If there is somebody that needs a question about that, they can come to us. No, NCAN does not help financially. We send you elsewhere. But there are Health Well Foundation, the Patient Advocacy Foundation, the drug companies all have financial.
Question. When you're first diagnosed, you end up seeing a number of doctors, a number of specialists. And it seems like everybody has a different way of wanting to treat you. So how do you determine the best direction to go?
I couldn't hear.
Yeah, he wanted to know, how do you determine the best way to go? You see a number of physicians, specialists, that kind of thing, and there are differing opinions. And how do you choose a path?
Sometimes you have to take 2 or 3, 4 opinions and then take the average of the one and try to get referrals from other patients of doctors and take it from there. We at the foundation, we cannot give medical advice because I'm not a medical doctor. I can tell you what my experiences with things are, but I can't tell you what to do. You have to make that final decision. And like I said, you go to several specialists and get, 2 or 3 and then see what the average is. Whoever says the 2, and you pick that, I went to 7 doctors and all of them said the same thing. There was nothing wrong with me.
Okay.
I was just crazy.
Final response from Roger.
Let me share. I'll just share my experience if it's helpful. When I was diagnosed, I had an oncologist who really wasn't aggressive, and then I started looking at doctors. I went to a surgeon at the University of Nebraska who was a liver transplant, and he recommended some good things for me. I went to MD Anderson. They wanted to do a trial. Wasn't interested in doing a trial. Went to see another surgeon, and then finally I went to Germany to see those doctors, and I changed oncologists. When I came back with my first gallium-68 scan, I was excited about it, and I went to her with MUSC and showed them to her, and she really got upset about it and didn't like it, and felt like I was really trying to upset what she, her treatment, and she didn't know anything about it, gallium-68. So obviously I had to change again, and then I found another doctor, and then led me to Marcel. So, it was like, I don't know. It's like she's saying it's a trial, and it is difficult, but somehow when it hits you and you say, okay, then this doctor really is, he or she is really sharing with me. They listen to me, answering the questions, and you get that gut feeling that it's right. I think that's the biggest part of it. With me, it was.
I have a kind of a corollary to that.
Okay, last one.
Yes, it's just a corollary. It's kind of the opposite of what you said. I had my oncologist retired. I didn't really like him very much, but a new young guy came in, and I was kind of his first neuroendocrine patient, and I had just had PRRT with Dr. Borges Neto. He was so excited, and we have educated ourselves together. He is consulting with Dr. Morris at Duke that I go to a couple times a year. He's doing more research than I am. He is investing in me and other neuroendocrine patients that he's going to see. So the corollary to that is sometimes you can get an oncologist who can dive in with you. And I really appreciate my little local fella for diving in with me, because I go to Duke.
He's not intimidated by her.
Right.
Intimidated, no. And because my insurance won't pay for me to go to Duke, that's out of pocket. So I got to see my local guy for everything else. But he's diving in with me, and I really appreciate it.
That's the main thing, is you need to find somebody that works for you, because not all doctors work for everybody. They all have different personalities. We all have different personalities. So you have to find the best fit for you. But thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, I'll be in the back.
Got a hand for the panel.
And thank you guys for being here.